the last few weeks on this channel, we have been doing a series where we dive into NBA drafts. Starting in 2010, we've also done 2011 and 2012 through 3 videos, and we've looked at each top 10 selection and decided or talked about whether they're a bust or whether their career has ended up being good, whether they've been a good, in retrospect, a good selection at that spot. But today for the 2013 draft, I have a different story in mind. This draft features all-time great, an NBA legend, NBA Finals MVP and champion, and also multiple-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, amongst other accolades. However, today he was selected 15th overall in the 2013 NBA draft. So we're going to be looking at how so many teams missed out on this superstar and what players they selected above them. Today we're looking at what happened to the 14 players taken above Giannis Antetokounmpo.
With the first pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett of Toronto, Canada, and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
The Cavaliers have become a staple in this series, and after multiple top picks featuring Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, and Dion Waiters, the Cavs returned this year looking for a highly talented forward to pair alongside their young guard duo. However, as we all know, they instead got quite possibly the biggest draft bust of all time in Canadian native Anthony Bennett. Bennett only managed 151 total NBA games and lasted 52 total games in Cleveland before being traded to Minnesota after being so terrible in his limited playing time. Bennett would spend time in Toronto and Brooklyn as well across the next 2 seasons, but at just 23 years old, he found himself with no contract offers and has been out of the NBA since then. However, he has played in multiple European and Asian leagues, hoping to find a path back to the NBA and some G League contracts, so maybe one day Anthony Bennett will finally get another NBA contract, but as of right now, he is undoubtedly one of the biggest draft busts in NBA history.
The second pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Victor Oladipo of Indiana University.
After being selected 2nd overall out of Indiana, Victor Oladipo has had one of the most roller coaster NBA careers, and while his first 4 seasons were fairly unremarkable, he ramped it up quickly in years 5 and 6. Oladipo spent his first 4, mentioned before me, in Orlando and with the Oklahoma City Thunder as a relatively consistent role player / average starting shooting guard. However, after being traded to Indiana, Oladipo shined as the star player on the roster, averaging 23 points per game and 18 points per game in his 2 seasons there respectively. He also allowed and helped the Pacers to make a playoff push in his first season, even going toe-to-toe with the LeBron-led Cavaliers, giving them a Game 7 matchup. Victor also made 2 consecutive All-Star teams, was featured on both All-NBA teams each season and an All-Defensive team in that 2017 season. Unfortunately, injuries have derailed his career rather quickly, and despite being in Houston and Miami for the past 3 seasons, he's shown flashes but rarely seen much time on the court. He did, however, just re-sign with Miami this post-off-season, so he has a good chance to revive his career at the minimum.
With the 3rd pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Otto Porter Jr. of Georgia.
Coming in the 3rd selection and the 3rd straight top pick for the Washington Wizards came another offensive-minded player in Otto Porter Jr. Porter was meant to pair well with Wall and Beal, 2 young, up-and-coming superstar guards, providing a 3rd scorer and a defensive side that the other 2 just didn't have as well as Porter did coming into the league. Despite this, however, and despite signing a massive multi-year contract rather quickly with the Wizards, Porter has never been more than a role player in the NBA, but he still plays that role very, very well. After 5 okay seasons in Washington, he spent 2 in Chicago and 1 in Orlando before finding his place with the Warriors this past season in their championship run. As we all know, his numbers aren't anything ridiculous, but he still played some solid minutes for the Warriors in their playoff and final series for Golden State, which did get him another contract for the Toronto Raptors. For his career, he has a respectable 10.6 points per game and 5 rebounds per game so far. Nothing crazy, but at least a decent NBA player, but maybe not worth the 3rd overall pick.
With the 4th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Charlotte Bobcats select Cody Zeller from Indiana University.
If Victor Oladipo was the Lightning at Indiana, Cody Zeller was the Thunder, being the anchor of the offense and the defense and the starting center for the Hoosiers. Zeller was selected by, once again, the terrible Charlotte Bobcats, who are actually in their final season as a franchise. He joins their long list of draftees that were taken way too early. While for his career he has had at least been in a serviceable center position, Zeller has never been worth the top 4 pick. He's never averaged more than 11 points per game or 7 rebounds per game, and his defensive side of the ball has always left a ton to be desired. After just 8 seasons in Charlotte, Zeller has finally moved on to Portland, looking for a new start and maybe helping the Blazers on a championship run. Overall, a solid center, but not great at the 4th spot.
With the 5th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns select Alex Lynn.
Coming out of college, it was believed that Alex Lynn could be the top pick in this draft and was undoubtedly the best big man in the draft. In a similar path to Zeller, though, Lynn has never lived up to being the 5th overall selection. He has had at least an average to slightly below average NBA career, but a serviceable role player nonetheless. He did spend 5 seasons in Phoenix before trying out 4 different teams in just 2 NBA seasons, including Sacramento, Atlanta, Toronto, and Washington. He also, at the end of that, would end up returning to Sacramento last season, where he averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds on very limited playing time because the Kings wanted to play their young players. With 1 year left on his contract, Lynn needs to prove himself this season in order for the Kings to allow him to stay on their roster, or for another team to offer him a contract and not be the 2nd highest player to fall out of the NBA very quickly from this draft.
With the 6th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the New Orleans Pelicans, yes, the New Orleans Pelicans, select Nerlins Noel from the University of Kentucky.
Being the 3rd straight center taken in this 2013 NBA draft, Nerlins Noel continues a streak that many of these centers before him established. A reliable but average career as an NBA center. Out of the 3, Noel is undoubtedly, in my opinion, the best player overall, and due to his lack of offensive talent on that side of the ball, though he has missed out on multiple opportunities across his career because he was extremely defensive minded after he was drafted. The next 2 seasons, the Philadelphia 76ers actually selected his replacements in Jahlil Okafor and Joel Embiid. Obviously, Embiid ended up becoming a top center in the NBA. Because of this, Noel fell completely out of the rotation, averaging just about 8 minutes per game, and essentially requested a trade that offseason. Since being sent to Dallas from that trade, Noel has played for 2 other teams in OKC and the New York Knicks, and continues to be a quality NBA center for each team he plays for. Last year, he only averaged 3 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 1 block, but Noel likely has time to find his role on a contender, or at least as a starting center on a bad team, and he is only 27 years old. So overall, the 6th overall pick is not a terrible spot for a guy like Nerlins Noel.
With the 7th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Ben McLemore from the University of Kansas.
Snapping the streak of big men being selected 3 times in a row, Ben McLemore out of Kansas brought us a new mold into this draft. We have a sharpshooter 3-and-D guy who can also put down some nasty dunks. McLemore joins the long list of players drafted by Sacramento who didn't end up panning out as they should. Ben only averaged more than 10 points per game once in his career so far, but he has had a bit of a revitalization. He's still been a consistent NBA shooting guard, playing for 5 teams across his 9 career seasons. In 2018 and 2019, he even shot 41% and 40% from 3 each season, respectively. Most recently, he played 64 games in a struggling Portland Trailblazers roster, averaging about 10 points per game on decent shooting splits. He has not been officially picked up this offseason, but I see him having a role on a contender as a 3-and-D type player in the future of his career.
With the 8th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Kentavious Caldwell Pope from the University of Georgia.
Coming out of Georgia, we have a guy who looked primed for an amazing NBA career. Kentavious Caldwell Pope was coming out of the draft just a 3-and-D style player after averaging 14.5 points per game in just his third NBA season in Detroit. KCP looked primed for greatness. However, he has since seen a steady decline in statistical output and has settled in his role as a quality starter and a solid 3-and-D guy, but nothing more than that. KCP spent 4 seasons in Detroit before getting a fairly large contract with the Lakers in 2017, where he would play for 4 seasons and help them win a championship, as we all know, in the NBA bubble in 2020. KCP was on a bad Wizards team last year where he did average about 13 points per game, and he was traded in the 2022 offseason to the Denver Nuggets, where he would quickly sign an extension. This was a smart move because KCP's time in Denver is very exciting to think about. He provides a veteran presence and can help improve the Nuggets' chances of a finals run alongside the return of Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic leading the squad.
Pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Trey Burke from the University of Michigan.
At the 9th spot, we have a guy who had an outstanding NCAA career, Trey Burke out of Michigan. His time at Michigan is overshadowed by his last-second buzzer beater in the NCAA tournament, but his NBA career has never quite gotten that success. After 3 decent seasons in Utah, nothing special but nothing terrible. Despite being a defensive liability, Burke has kind of been a journeyman in the NBA. From Washington, New York, to Dallas, and Philadelphia, he has never really landed a prominent role on any roster, but he has at least been a quality bench player. Coincidentally, Burke has been fairly decent on every team he's played in, providing a spark plug role off the bench and being a fairly consistent offensive player. However, due to his height and weight and tangibles, he has always been a liability on the defensive side of the ball, which has lost him multiple contracts. After 3 straight seasons in Dallas, Burke has re-signed with the Mavericks, and with the departure of Jalen Brunson, maybe he'll receive a little bit more minutes this coming season.
With the 10th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select C.J. McCollum from Lehigh University.
After selecting small school alumni Damian Lillard the season before, the Trailblazers doubled down on their strategy with Lehigh alumni C.J. McCollum, who was the perfect shooting guard to pair alongside Lillard, and he would do just that for 9.5 seasons, providing the Blazers with a secondary star who played just as well as Lillard in some situations. Unfortunately, because of their playoff struggles, McCollum was always scrutinized for choking when he was needed the most, and despite averaging 19 points per game during his time in Portland, they recently traded him to the Pelicans in favor of younger guard Anthony Simons. McCollum then went on to have an outstanding 26 games in New Orleans, averaging 24 points per game and 6 assists per game, helping the Pelicans make a playoff appearance. And not only that, but win 2 games against the massively over-talented Phoenix Suns. Throughout his career, McCollum has been under a ton of scrutiny and discussion and constantly has been hated on, yet he consistently plays well each season. In my opinion, one of the better players drafted in this 2013 lottery.
With the 11th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Michael Carter-Williams.
While we know the future of Michael Carter-Williams now, during the 2013 NBA season, after being selected 11th overall by the 76ers out of Syracuse, MCW was the youngest up-and-coming point guard who seemed to be next up. During his rookie season, he averaged 17 points per game, 7 assists per game, 6 rebounds per game, and a whopping 2 blocks per game. On top of this, he won Rookie of the Year and made an appearance on the All-Rookie First Team. Unfortunately for Williams, the biggest knock on his game was his lack of three-point shooting, which, as we all know, is where the NBA was heading. This completely derailed his career. Despite being relatively productive and decent during his next few seasons in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Chicago, MCW has never rose anywhere close to his rookie form. He still has a roster spot in Orlando, where he has been for 3.5 seasons, providing a veteran presence, but at 29 years old, it is likely that he will most likely be a career-long role player for the rest of his career.
With the 12th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Steven Adams from Rotorua, New Zealand, and the University of Pittsburgh.
And in our final 3 selections before we get into that 15th spot, we have the best center selected in this draft so far. Adams has for a long time been known as one of, if not the strongest players in the NBA for his tough screens and being a seemingly immovable object. Despite being a longtime OKC Thunder player when they began their rebuild, Adams was traded to New Orleans, where he would play for 1 season before being moved to Memphis in return for Jonas Valanciunas, where he has now been playing alongside young up-and-coming star point guard Ja Morant. While he's never been an offensive weapon, Adams' defense and rebounding talents far outweigh his offensive liability. He still has 1 season under contract in Memphis, and while they most likely won't re-sign him, at just 28, he has plenty of time to win a championship and at minimum be a quality starting center on a rebuilding team or a contending team of his choice.
The 13th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk, selected 13th overall out of Gonzaga, is an amazing stretch big man for today's league. While he has never had an outstanding career through 9 seasons, he's averaged 10 points per game and 5 rebounds per game on 47% from the field and 36% from 3. Mostly remembered for his time in Boston, where coincidentally he injured Kevin Love in the playoffs. Olynyk has also spent time in Miami, Houston, and most recently Detroit, where he was traded to last offseason. Olynyk has still had a solid NBA role-playing career and most likely will be continuing that past 2022 and providing a veteran presence to the young roster found in Detroit. And finally, at the 14th spot in the last lottery pick in 2013, we have a player whose career looked extremely promising for a few seasons before, unfortunately, he fell completely off the face of the planet. After a bad rookie season, Muhammad leapt from 4 points per game to 13.5 points per game on extremely efficient shooting. He continued the success next season, a little lower, but still at 10.5 points per game in Minnesota. Unfortunately, for Shabazz Muhammad, this is where his career went downhill, as after 1.5 more seasons in Minnesota and falling all the way down to 4 points per game again, Muhammad spent a final 11 games in Milwaukee where he did average 8.5 points on impressive shooting, but the Bucks did not pick up Muhammad, as early career controversies such as tax fraud by him and his father and lying about his age caught up with him, and after not getting re-signed, he left for the EuroLeague, as many NBA busts or failures do.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Looking back in time, the 2013 draft had very little star talent in its ranks, and even the best player in Giannis was at the time expected to be no more than a role player at that. They didn't have many players end up succeeding, and outside of him, this draft has very little NBA success overall in its lottery selections or its late first round and second round picks. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, and make sure to stay tuned for next time as we jump to the 2014 NBA draft. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, as it helps me out so much. Also, turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. Thank you guys for watching this one again. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.